Actually, the funny enough, the coffee mug I'm holding is one that I've been holding on to for about, I'm gonna say about 4 years.
That's
Someone
cool.
I know knew someone who worked for the show, and they've been holding on to season 10 Supernatural gifts, and so they gave them to me. And I have this extra shirt, this mug, and everything that I've been holding on to that I'm planning to do a giveaway for during season 10.
That's really
So,
cool.
yeah, it says, what's it? It says Supernatural 2005 to 2015 season 10 on it. It's got like what's it, the demon warding symbol in it.
Yeah, yeah. That's really
Okay.
cool, actually.
Hey, everyone. This is it. We're doing it. Finally got Jay here on the show. Very, very excited to do this. Jay, thank you for being a part of this. This is something I've been looking forward to ever since you did that video doing the retrospective of Supernatural. I believe it was season 8 to 11,
Yeah.
and then you had that bit of mine from Kim Manners, which thank you again. And yeah, just thank you for being on with this. Very excited for our conversation today.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to do it. It took a lot of guts and some gumption to reach out for that clip because I had been actually watching your reviews for like the show since season 12. So
Oh, you saw the
every
angry
week
me.
I'd well, it's like every week I would watch the episode because I started watching the show fully like week to week in season 12. So I would watch the episode and I would watch your review, and there were times where we would disagree, but most of the time I thought you had valid criticisms. I never felt like you were coming at the show with like hatred for no reason.
Oh, I appreciate that. That was something that I don't know. I just found that in the latter seasons, like I understand when you do a show as long as this, obviously things are going to change, and I accused Andrew Dabb of like myriads of retcons, but as we
Mhm.
have gone through Carver's era, Carver did some pretty big ones too himself.
Yeah.
I think the
Mhm.
thing that just really bothered me, the biggest thing that I think was like the beginning of the snowball, was when they did the werewolf episode that basically completely erased all of the meaning of heart from season 2.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when that happened, I'm like, this show has nothing anymore. This show has no stakes anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they were able to make an episode about a girl turning into a werewolf as hard hitting as that episode was, and then they can like, oh yeah, we could just fix it now. It's just like, oh no. But
I agree.
regardless, thank you again for being a part of this
Mm-hmm.
show. For being a part of this, it's been very interesting going through Carver's era so far because, admittedly, I did watch your Carver era video a while back, but I didn't watch a lot of it because I did want to keep a lot of season 8, 9, and 10 kind of fresh to me because, as I've mentioned this many a times on my own show, I have not seen all of season 10 in full, I believe. I did actually take a break from Supernatural in season 10. I watched the first little bit, and then I fell off. I had a friend download some episodes for me. I'm fairly certain I didn't watch all of them, and then I came
Mm-hmm.
back at the very end, I think the last 3 episodes, and I'll be like, oh, what's this darkness thing? Oh, that's kind of cool. And that's when I started reviewing the show,
Mm-hmm.
was the end of season 10. So it's been fun in some ways to relive the Carver era, and it's been in others, especially going through season 9. So I guess I
Yeah.
want to start off with this first question for you here. When you first watched the Carver era as it aired, or when you were going through
Mm-hmm.
your viewing of the show, did you find it to be the return of good Supernatural after season 7, as most of us said, or did you start to see the criticisms, like kind of the cracks in the wall, even then?
So I think for me, for anyone who doesn't know, I've like 1 through 5. I still stand by being like the pinnacle of the show as far
Absolutely.
as everything concerned with it. I think 6 is a big jumbled mess. I don't care for it. 7 is I think the first half of 7 I actually like a good bit up until Bobby's death. I think it's got some iffy episodes, but I think it's fairly well paced and well done up to there. The second half of 7, I'm not a huge fan of. There's some fun episodes for me personally. I've talked about that before on my channel multiple times, but I think that it's very boring with the main plot, and I think carried
we've
over
got
for me.
how many episodes started with we've got dick on dick?
Yeah. It was very, very annoying to watch how little plot progressed. And I think the quality slump for me honestly carried over into the first half of season 8. And so when I was watching the show for the first time back in 2016, I think, because I'd seen episodes here and there before it. I was very into like The Flash and Arrow, so I would watch episodes of Supernatural occasionally if there was an episode on before one of those shows. I know it used to air, I think, after The Flash on Tuesdays.
I remember when it started. It was right after Smallville, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
that's season 1, and then it just kept hopping days after.
Yeah,
season 5.
My parents would watch it after Smallville. I have like vivid memories of that. But yeah, the first half of season 8 I think is woefully written at times. The characters are, Sam in particular is incredibly out of character.
Yeah, I agree.
To a point, and I like Sam the most. He's my favorite character on the show, and I hated the way it treated him. That being said, the show has a weird episode, like episode 10, the mid-season premiere, completely pivots and drops it drops the Amelia plot, it drops Benny, it drops like every single bit the show was doing, it just drops, and it completely refocuses. And from then on, I think season 8's pretty great. And I think the show actually is in this weird spot where I think the second half of 8 is really solid for the most part, and then I think the first half of 9 is also, it's not great. It's not as good as the second half of 8, but I think the first half of 9 is pretty solid as well. So there's almost like,
I agree with you as well. Like when I was going through my reviews, season 9, the first up until like as problematic as the Gadriel story is, it's still, I believe, a more solid narrative than when Metatron becomes the main villain.
I agree,
because like I feel that the actor who plays Metatron, he's the only reason why you can take the character seriously, because on paper the character is awful.
I agree.
It could have been maybe a little bit more interesting, but he's just so like useless. And then the last episode with him like being the Jesus character, and I remember saying like, this guy looks like a sexual predator. So yeah, like I feel that Carver, like I think I had a little bit of, not rose tinted glasses, but I had definitely had some like, ooh, it's Carver, because he was one of the main story editors for season 3, which is my favorite, my personal favorite season. Half because of its central focus, like it's a really good brother with brother season. It did really well considering the writer's strike. Like so many shows were destroyed during the 2008, 2009's writer's strike. Heroes, I've never seen Heroes, but I've heard, if you ever wanted a great example of what destroyed shows during that writer's strike, season 2 of Heroes. So I feel like Carver, I think he had okay ideas, but I definitely feel that his overall arc from 8 to 11 is not 4 seasons worth of content.
No.
3, maybe 2, 3 possibly, but I felt like so much shit was dragging in 9. And I don't know how it's going to go for 10 yet, but yeah, I just felt like that was... It's not as woo. Like there's still some great moments, like Goodbye Stranger is still one of the best episodes I feel like he did in terms of like, oh hey remember this show is good. And then Sacrifice as well and stuff like that. But I just found it has so far been, I'm actually somewhat missing the monster aspect of Sarah Gamble's run. Yeah, like as you said, as messy as 6 and 7 were. It still felt like Supernatural, but it was just messy, and it just didn't have a good plot,
Yeah.
overall plot. But yeah.
I actually, yeah, you go ahead.
Oh no, you go.
Well, I've been thinking about that specifically. That what you just said about like season 7 and 6 feeling like Supernatural. And I've had this like thought in my head for a while, and I may make a video on it, and or a discussion could be cool. But it kind of just this idea that 1 through 5 are regarded as classic Supernatural to most people. But I think you could even go as far as to include, not quality wise, but vibes wise and feeling and the way the show is structured. You could probably include 6 and 7 in there. Because it's not until like season 8 that the show like completely like not just in the tonal shift of the show, it becomes a bit more comedy and cosmic focused. But the visual styling like just completely shifts as well.
Basically, at that time, that's when basically a lot of people went over to digital. They went from film to digital, and not to say that it's like the one main reason why the show changed, because the cinematographer was always, as far as I know, he was the same cinematographer from season 1 all the way up to season 15.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely by you can almost call it that, not soap opera glaze, but it starts to happen. And then by like season 15, I still remember like the opener when they're in this town that's in Ladner, which is not too far from where I live. I remember just like, what the fuck is this filter? Why am I getting like Days of Our Lives feelings?
The show really annoyed me. Full transparency, I'm rewatching it right now for a project for the 20th anniversary in September. And I love the visual styling of season 1 and 2.
Absolutely, all the shadow work.
The show really frustrates me around seasons 12 through 15 because they will have episodes that look really good. For like the CW, like at that time, there's just some really solid looking episodes. There's a couple in 14 that just look really strong, and then they'll have that soap opera lighting you're talking about, just the next episode. And I don't. It's sad because if the show just stuck with that and it just looked bad for the rest of its runtime, it would suck. But at least it consistently looks bad. But it feels like there's times where they put a little bit more effort in. And then the direct next episode is like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. We're just going to put a bright light behind the actor, and it's going to make him look fuzzy.
No, I feel the same. It just, it had this glossiness to it. And just like, I'm not saying that the show was always scary. Like, I just felt that I don't think I ever got spooked by anything after, like, even in the Carver era so far. The only thing that has kind of spooked me was the monster dude in Dog Day Afternoon, because... But the first thing he does is he snaps a dude in half. I'm like, damn, that's pretty nuts. It's funny enough, though, you mentioned the CW. Obviously, CW is very much a product of its time. It definitely thrived during the late 2000s and early 2010s. But as a lot of people have noticed from reports and then just like the downfall of it, they were burning cash that they didn't have. Supernatural did have like 1 million viewers roughly, usually every season after season 5, but it's still definitely like it kept a better number than most of the CW shows did. Like one really big example I can think of is that the Batwoman show was having a budget, like, and I know this from people who worked on the show. It had budgets for their episodes that would have been for shows that were getting 1 million, 2 million plus, but they were barely clearing 300,000 viewers an episode.
Yeah.
With that said, do you think that if, say, Supernatural didn't start in 2005, if it started in maybe 5 years ago, or even now, do you think that the show would have even had anywhere near as much of a longevity as it has, even if it still had the viewership?
No, I don't think so. I think, oh man, so much of TV has changed in the past 5 years. even up to there. Like I don't want to get too much on like my soapbox or anything, but I get sad sometimes because I think about the fact of like a Supernatural where in like season 1 the show is fully legit. It's a procedural show. Through and through. It's like they go to a different town every week and there's a new case,
like an X-Files episode.
Yeah, and there's rumblings of a storyline, and the show eventually turns into mostly serialized with, you know, episode to episode mattering. But I don't feel like the show would build that legacy and the resonance that it had. And I don't think the show would build that resonance and the legacy that it had it not started with like a Monster of the Week kind of format. And I don't think it would have started like that if the show had started 5 years ago.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I very much agree. It did help too that, as I mentioned, X-Files, it had a lot of X-Files alumni.
Yeah.
Like not only Kim Manners, I believe Robert Singer worked on X-Files as well. I might be wrong about that one, but
I'm pretty sure he did.
I know that there were some background people too, some producers who also worked on X-Files. But a really big proponent was Kim Manners. Kim was really big on just bringing a lot of what he had learned from X-Files over into Supernatural, and that definitely helped. I always I curse how like cancer took him way too early, because I'm always curious what would have the show have been like had he still been around. Like he for sure would have directed the finale. Not to say that Swan Song isn't as great as it is. The guy who did do it did a fantastic job. But yeah, I always miss Kim on that end. Kind of now taking it from a serious note and kind of going to a note that you just talked about this a few weeks ago. Jumping to spin-offs. You just did the video about the Winchesters, and funnily enough, your complaints about the show are the same as mine. You finished it. I couldn't. But Bloodlines, this episode rightfully so gets a lot of criticism because this one it came out with this assumption that you would watch it regardless, like, oh, it's a Supernatural product, you'll watch it, right? Without giving you decent characters. Like, they really did think that, oh, the people who watch Vampire Diaries also watch this show. That's the best I could describe it. I only ever watched a couple of episodes of Vampire Diaries, and when I watched it and then I came and watched Bloodlines, I'm like, that's what this feels like. But with all the criticisms of Bloodlines said, I still feel like maybe it could have had some cool ideas to do like a mini arc, like the boys are in a town taking on a gang, taking on series of gangs. Like, this could have been a mini arc in itself. I don't think they would have done that because Supernatural never really did do that, not until obviously in the latter seasons. But do you think that maybe that could have been a better idea? Like, the concept of Bloodlines could have worked had it been a boys centered, like the boys are at the center of it all, taking on all these gangs.
Yeah, I think there's actually, for as much as I dislike the episode and as much as I ragged on it in the video, I think there's a lot of potential in the concept. I think it's a really cool way to explore the world of Supernatural. It's a very strong I guess pull and a hook that I think would have worked if you had plopped Sam and Dean as the center of it. Because the biggest issue with that episode is how they replace Sam and Dean with just a bunch of random characters that aren't given the time to develop, and they just throw them at you. With Sam and Dean just kind of showing up. I think the concept could have been cool in a maybe in a less of a mini arc, because again the show didn't do that very often until the latter ones. I think it would have been cool as like almost a maybe like a Gordon Walker kind of ongoing storyline, or like the Winchesters running into trouble with the law, where like every season or so they're like, maybe they take on another case in that area and run into this family. They can't just ice a whole family, right? So it's like having to continuously run into that could have been cool.
Yeah, and that's something too for Supernatural. Sometimes you would have great characters that are these one-off characters. Like in season 9, when Dorothy appeared, I remember thinking like, "There's no way this will work." I thought this was just like too hokey, and they did it pretty well. Like I like how she's like, yeah, my dad wrote all these stories, but they're really horror stories. I feel like that can kind of work into itself. Like you could have had this, like you could have had the drama on the side. Definitely take out the human killing dude though. He was awful. Like both performance and his just concept. I thought he was just such a shit bad part of the show. But I did like discount Archie Andrews from Riverdale and the werewolf girl. I thought that was like an interesting story. I do admit, and now actually we're gonna jump it a little bit into the retconning stuff. As interesting as it was, it did piss me off that the whole curse, the entire, this is the bad part of the deal of a skinwalker, is that you have to peel your skin off. Like really gross. Like one of the best parts of season 1 is,
I agree.
Yeah, like it does suck that and depending on how you watched it, just like this random fact that I've always found so strange is if you watch the scene now on Amazon or whatever streaming service, they took out Gun, the song Gun in the background, and they replaced it with something else. And it's just awful because the song Gun works so good in that scene when like the changeling Dean is like ripping off all the skin.
They do that for all of season 1, which is the unfortunate thing on at least on Netflix.
Oh, see, I when I did my retro reviews, like what took me like 3 freaking years to go through season 1, I watched it all on my DVDs.
Yeah, I have it on my I have the whole Blu-ray box set.
Ooh.
So I've been watching it on that recently to get through season 1 and 2. Yeah, they got it. It's not just that scene. There's another one, Faith, when they introduce the Reaper.
Oh yeah.
They don't play the song. They play,
which is so weird. Like that's the whole point. That's like the whole point.
There's another part too where like Dean like references putting in like a I think it's a Metallica.
Yeah. Oh, that was in the first episode. That actually yeah, they're talking about like Metallica and all this, and then he puts it in its AC/DC. That actually, that's original because apparently they mentioned it, and then Kripke in the commentary said, yeah, we couldn't afford to play Metallica.
That's really funny. I think they just it's something with the rights, but it's not an issue with the rest of the show, and it just bothers me because like it's such a core part of that show, and then for them to go forward and just it's not even good music. There's oftentimes it's just like weird like almost
dollar store.
Yeah, dollar store kind of like mid 2000s like pop punk almost.
I was gonna say I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm watching The Rookie in the background right now because it's on Canadian Netflix, and just watching it like while I'm editing, and every time there's music, I'm like, oh, where did they find this song? Like, they went to like the cheap bin of lyric music to try and get this into the background for the montage.
Oh, that was an issue I would have with the Flash too, because the later season that show really starts like having like action scenes with music over it, which is a cool enough idea, but you got to have good music. There are so many moments in that show where I start rolling my eyes because of I don't know where they're pulling it from.
I actually meant to say I worked across the street from the studio that was doing the Flash, because they were done at Vancouver film studios. They were across like basically the highway. If you had you could throw a ball about 200 meters. Or
that's really cool.
Like on one side of the highway was Vancouver Film Studios. On the other side of the highway was Burnaby Studios. And I was there when we were working on Midnight Club and Fall of the House of Usher. And during Fall of House of Usher, we did rent out some of the studios at Vancouver Film Studio. And I do remember seeing what's his name, the guy who plays Flash, roll up at one point, be like, "Oh, there he is."
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I just find it funny, like those two, like the Supernatural studio wasn't anywhere near. It was more so, if I were to make a description, I think it was definitely like a 25-minute drive away and south and more towards Richmond. And that's actually something that I only thought of this morning because I was watching your Winchester review. Now, I don't know if like this is going to make sense at all, but one of the things that I found very kind of disheartening about what Jensen did with making the Winchesters, one, not including Jared at all. I thought that was a little, like, I know he's had his discussion with Michael Rosenbaum, and him and Jared have, like, you know, patted it out, but I still felt it was a little bit like, when he
I agree.
But the other thing about it is that they filmed that show in Louisiana, I believe. And I felt that was a major disservice to the idea that the entire show had been filmed in Vancouver. Now, maybe he wanted to be closer to home because the boys were basically flying back and forth from Vancouver to Texas, all because they live in Texas, right?
Yeah.
But I always thought that was like really kind of sleazy on Jensen's part. And also you can see a difference too when you're watching Winchester, right? Like there's they super do the soap opera filter in that show as well. But I just kind of found it like having finished your thing with the Winchesters, how did you feel like in terms of, like, you say you get like supernatural feels sometimes, and not when it's like blatant nostalgia, but overall, if the way, like, where would you rank Winchesters amongst supernatural? Like, is it something that you feel like people should watch, or is it just something that if you missed, you're not missing anything?
Yeah, don't watch it. It's I did like a ranking for my buddy who watched when I did my retrospective. He had like seen the show in passing, so he watched all 15 seasons with me.
Wow,
and so
commitment.
Yeah, it was touch and go. It took us like 3 years because of seasons 8, 9, and 10. But they I'd watched the Winchesters pilot with him, and I was like, yeah, it's fine. I'll check it. He's like, I'm not doing this. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm gone. He's like, you can't pay me to do this.
You can't. So, you can't make me.
I watched the second episode, and there's nothing in this show. Like, honestly, I tried to find some things, because I love Supernatural so much, and I miss the show, in a lot of ways. I think if you have an issue with the series finale, you could probably go out of your way and watch like the ending of the Winchesters, where Dean shows up out of a blue portal and just starts talking.
Yeah, I remember when I saw it. I did see that. Like, I looked that up on YouTube mainly because the Wayward Winchester account, which that's a story in itself. Yeah, when I was like, oh, look at that. He's like full on spoiling the show. How the hell does this account still exist?
I don't want to talk too much about that. I agree. That was another thing. My friend, he was trying to look that scene up because I had talked about it after finishing the show, and he found this Wayward Winchester channel. He was like, what am I? He's like, what am I looking at right here?
Yeah, I never understood how that channel. It's still around too. I don't get it. Like, maybe I don't know. I would have thought WB would have like atomic bombed his account by now.
Yeah, I get in trouble for putting out a well-edited retrospective, and then, there's some channels out here doing this.
2 of my episodes are demonetized. Episode 18 and 19 of season 9. They're just like, yeah, we can't at all. I'm like, what?
Yeah, not the newest one, the Winchesters video is monetized. The spin-offs video is completely demonetized.
Boo.
They claimed the Wayward Sisters episode for like 1 second, and then like started claiming everything in the video. It was just like a domino.
Oh, that sucks, man.
Chain effect.
I'm sorry to hear that. Jody's unfortunately bad luck, because like I said, in episode 19 was Alexa Annis. Yeah, I was like, oh, cool, my 300th review. Oh, fuck.
That one was my fastest growing video too. Like, it started like blowing up and doing
Oh,
really
that's
well.
awesome, man. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that though. That sucks.
The Winchesters videos doing very well to kind of
that's good.
make it feel a little bit better. But no, it was it's the first. It was also the first copyright issue I had in like years since that big retrospective video, the Carver era. So
I was gonna say, yeah, like that's why my Swan Song one looks like poop, to be honest. I also think I didn't do as quick of cuts. I have noticed, like, for any of you who do your own reviews of shows, try and make every clip that you have about 3 to 4 seconds long. If you go over that, you're into some risky territory.
You want 6 seconds is your max. You do not want to go over that.
Yeah, for me, Swan Song, I held on certain shots for way too long, and that's why I had to put that weird, stupid TV filter over it. And I really regret it now. I really should have just gone back and edited more. But
I get it.
Yeah, and you're talking about doing your 20th anniversary, like the 20th anniversary of Supernatural retrospective, which is nuts. The fact that Supernatural started on September 13th, 20 years ago. So this September 13th. I didn't start watching the show when I admit I missed the first episode. I watched the first episode I ever saw on TV was the last one of season 1. And so
really?
Yeah, and it got me. I remember seeing the ads for it, but I didn't know if I wanted to watch it. And then my dad and I just like were watching, swinging through TV, and we saw the last episode. We're like, damn, this is really good. So we bought the box set and we just started watching the show together, and that's where everything started. With that in mind, how do you feel like overall the 20th anniversary? How do you feel that the Carver era incorporates itself into Supernatural? You basically answered this in your analysis, but as the zeitgeist of it all, like how does the Carver era place itself in the entirety of Supernatural for you?
It's rough because I've coined it the Dark Age.
I remember getting like when I saw that trail, that thumbnail. Then I watched the first few episodes, the first few seasons retrospect. Like, fuck, he's right.
Yeah, in retrospect, I do have, for anyone who hasn't seen it on my channel, I've got like 4 videos, breaking it down by
very good videos. Absolutely recommend them.
I appreciate that. I put a lot of time into those, and I separated it by showrunner, which I still think is a very cool way to look at it.
That's a good way. No, absolutely.
I think in retrospect, I probably would have separated it by 5 season chunks, because the Dark Age is a little weird as is, because I like season 8 a decent amount, and I love 11. So it's kind of weird. I'm like, yeah, this is the Dark Age because 9 and 10 exist, but I feel like the Dark Age really should include 6 and 7 as well. So there's a little bit of like, I would go back and have 1 through 5, 6 through 10, and then 11 through 15 as probably my 3 videos.
That I can kind of agree with that too, because it's like, as much of like, I think the reason why the Carver era is as held up as it is because of 11 for the most part. Yeah. Like 11 definitely draws on nostalgia for the most part. Like, it's bringing back all of these things, like the Lucifer, like actually introducing God. You basically got the entire Justice League of Supernatural alumni in it, and it worked like just as much as it shouldn't have worked, which is kind of why I feel 15. I don't like 15 as much, because I still say that the entire idea of putting God in at the end was just it's like a throw that in, and that to be said, that is how Supernatural worked. They did not know that the show was going to get renewed until about 3/4 of the way through filming it. Like, even then, sometimes it was later. Yeah. Like, Jared's on record. He had interviews, I think, after season 6, after season 7, and after season 8, or during, I believe, that he thought that was the last season of the show. They thought that for the next 10 years after season 5.
I had seen a few things with I remember it might be wrong. I remember hearing either Eric Kripke or one of the actors talk about the end of season 4. They thought like for sure they're not getting a season 5. And then I always thought it was interesting because season 4 feels like it tees up 5 so heavily.
Absolutely. I definitely understand why so many people think that season 4 is one of the best seasons.
And then I think I'm from what I remember, I think the show was literally, I think 11 was at the time when they were producing it. I think that everyone
Carver
it was
thought
like an
it
open
was
secret at the time. Yeah, it was over because if you look at a ratings chart, like it is a downward spiral all the way to the end of season 10 before 11 gets a huge, because I think the show dropped on Netflix.
Yes,
so a bunch
right.
of people came in. It was like an open secret for everyone working on the show during 11. They're like, hey, we're probably done.
Yeah, and then
you can tell.
Yeah. Oh, with how the story is set up. But then apparently when they were, I think it was just after they had done the 20th episode, the 20th or the 21st episode, the CW guys like, hey, we're going to give you guys another season. And Carver's like, what the fuck? It's supposed to be ending the show, guys. And that's why he left. Mm-hmm. And I always feel a little bit pissed about that. I'm like, damn, man, you couldn't have finished your story. Because he then goes on to try and make Frequency a TV show about an obscure Jim Caviezel Dennis Quaid movie from 2000 that has a more that there is a Garth Brooks song that is more popular and more well known than that movie is. And I remember I actually worked on that show for a little bit. That was my introduction to working in film almost. Mm. And I remember just standing off to the side thinking, who thought this is a good idea?
Yeah, it always bothered me knowing that, and I get to a certain degree if you're like putting your all into like making the best final season that you can, being a little upset. But the fact he just left, it's always, I guess, bothered me a little bit. And not that I think Andrew Dabb like dropped the ball on the
I don't know what he could have done. Like he probably's like, you want me to continue a season that should be the end.
Yeah. I think for what he did, I think the ending of 11 is fine. I think it works narratively. It's a little bit of a whiff because the last episodes leading up to the finale are so high stakes and grand. That
absolutely.
The kind of
like, when you thought God, like when darkness is like basically almost blasting God to death. I remember standing up in my seat going, holy shit.
Yeah. I think the end of 11 is fine. That was another thing that just always tainted the Jeremy Carver era for me. It was like, and I don't want to speak, too negatively about a man I do not know. But I think the thing about Jeremy Carver is it never felt like he wanted to be the supernatural showrunner, because I know he left after season 5 and then was like called back after the gambled seasons.
It was a job more than like a passion.
Yeah, I feel like he really just, especially because you look at like, you talked about Frequency. I haven't seen it, but I've not heard good things. But you look at Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol and Being Human too. He did that.
Yeah. People love Doom Patrol. And so it was wild to me because I hear Jeremy Carver's doing Doom Patrol and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm not super like, but then everyone loves Doom Patrol and they're talking about like it like how the show handles its character work and it loves its characters and everything. And I'm like, then I think back to like 1 through 5 and Carver's got like a ton of great character episodes. I mean, like Changing Channels, for as wacky and goofy as it is such a big moment in season 5. And
absolutely.
I and then you look at how well 11 is up, when he's like doing it, and I think I just don't know that he cared too much, and I think I remember reading somewhere that he had like a post-it note on his desk of like he knew what he wanted the final season to be if he wrote it, and so every season was just dragging its heels to get to the darkness.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely, like, season 9
and you can feel that.
Yeah, season 9 is definitely drag. And then also he's the one I give like Dab a bunch of shit for doing it, but really Carver is the one who set up this ideology of introduce the threat of the next season within quite literally the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, and it got that, like, originally was sometimes like introduced in the last episode, like have it work well. Like I feel Sacrifice, it works great as it is, and it is a perfect setup for season 9. And then season 9 ends, and it's like, oh, let's just put this little thing. Like technically speaking, the Mark of Cain, like here's this little thing. We're gonna use it at the end. And then season 10. As much as I like season 11, the setup for season 11 is bullshit.
It's like I said, it's you can tell like he had like a post-it note as Des being like, we're gonna do the darkness, and as soon as he gets the call that like it's time to do the darkness, he's like, yeah, we're gonna do the darkness. And it's like the Mark of Cain being a key to like locking the darkness away. The funniest thing. I remember watching that the first time, and I'm like, okay, sure.
I really thought, my thought for how that link was going to be, I thought that to kill the darkness, you had to kill Dean. I thought that they had this like this connection, this copaceticness that was tied to that mark. So I thought that was going to be, that might have been, like, I was kind of curious how he wanted to end season 11 his way.
Yeah. I think that's what was going to happen. Even the season 11 finale is trying to go in that direction of like
with the spirit
they're
bomb.
making this, yeah, that's another issue I really don't like about the Jeremy Carver seasons is I don't know if this was some intentional form of poetry storytelling where he's trying to draw parallels or whatever, but like every finale is just like one of the brothers gotta die. The brother gotta, the 8 ends with Sam like the trials and he's basically about to die. 9 ends with Dean dying. 10's got the whole like, oh, Dean's gotta kill Sam in the finale. That's what they've all been building up to, is that. And then 11 looks like it was going to end with one of them with Dean probably dying to kill the darkness. And it got so tiring, and it made me so happy that the Dab seasons for the most part like avoid that. And when they do lean into it, it's a case of the season 14 finale where I have a lot of issues with the twist with Chuck and everything in that episode. But that episode's almost kind of a meta deconstruction of the trope where like in universe, like Sam is realizing like, hey, we've done this way too many times before. Like this is getting old. And I think
as
that's
much as
cool.
it hurts me, I do agree with you on that.
It's a cool idea, yeah.
No.
It's like,
and this is what I've always liked about your channel in particular. Like, even if I disagree with you, you still have like really good points. Like your Wendigo episode in particular, I'm like, damn it, he's right about a lot of these things.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much.
I still love Wendigo, and I feel like it is still like a classic Supernatural episode, and I could watch it over any of the Dab era, but that's my own personal opinion. But when you have like really good points, like that's the thing that is something that I felt that I lost a lot of. Like I felt like I was almost veering on being a hater channel in this season 12 to 15. And I didn't mean to. It just kind of led into it with being like just the amount of stuff that Dab was doing. I just couldn't understand it. And I didn't mean to be a hater guy. I was just pointing out like, this isn't good story writing, guys. Like there's a lot of flaws with this. And it also introduced me to a lot of people who are, I wouldn't say nihilist, but like on the verge of almost like cult-like for a bit of Supernatural stuff. And we definitely saw it when the finale happened. Like some of those reviews on IMDb are laughable, both the very positive and the very negative. But when it came to just, like you make a good point too, just talking about like Dab trying to do a difference with like the brothers not having to die every season. I felt like his drama, like when he tried to have the brothers do drama, it was at its absolute worst in his era. Especially that one argument that Sam and Dean have in season 15 or 14, whichever the one where Sam punches Dean in the face. He's like, "We're brothers," and it's just like that was a hug. I remember just rolling my eyes into the back of my head.
That was that was my first. And nowadays I don't, and it's cool to be able to talk about this with you. Nowadays I see that scene in a bit of a different light. That was my first major disagreement when watching your reviews after the episodes would air, because I still like that episode a lot. Um, but that ending, it's not the best. I agree with that now.
It's the death scene. It's Dean's death
Yeah.
scene in terms of its absolute melodrama.
That finale. That I
I
don't
did.
think I will ever. I'll never be able to know how I truly feel about that
My
episode.
dad actually stopped. Like, admittedly, when season 11, I had to move very far. Like, I took a job up north, about 4 hours north. And that was when my dad and I stopped watching the show together. And he was trying to watch it himself, but he just didn't really. And he kind of fell off of it. And when I watched the finale with him, he's like, well, that sucked.
I remember sitting down. I did not like Inherit the Earth, the penultimate episode of
Oh,
season
yeah.
15. I might be a little like brain rotted and stupid, but I've come around on that one a little bit more. I see some appeal in the chaos. I still do not like it as a story wrap up. It is one of the messiest. I've compared it to like Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. In the way
Ooh,
it
very
tells
good
its
comparison.
story.
Very good comparison.
But that finale, I sit down and I watch it, and I remember a wave of emotions that made me feel like I was sad. But now, in retrospect, I feel like that episode emotionally manipulated me. Like, I don't feel like I was actually touched by it so much as I feel like the episode tried so hard to make me feel touched and sad, and it came out on the other end of me being like, well, I guess the show's over now. And
Yeah.
I've described it as the most creatively bankrupt, bland, boring, and safe ending the show could have ever gone with.
Yeah.
And that's better than some shows' endings.
No, that's true.
Admittedly. But I don't know. It's funny because I feel like they knew that was going to be the fan response, because Inherit the Earth ends with them driving off into the sunset. The show's got like 2 endings. You can stop after episode 19.
Yeah, and I thought that too. I always said, like, I remember talking with Jade all the way back when I did those videos. I said, like, honestly, at this point, the show should end with either both of them dying or both of them riding off into the sunset. You can't do one or the other because it's going to be hokey. And obviously with Dean dying, it was just like, really, after everything, it's the pipe. But then again, a lot of people try to go off of the whole, like, oh, Dad did that one episode where it's, all of their luck, the car never breaking down, Dean being able to eat as much as he can without, having massive gastrointestinal issues. I thought that, like, as funny of a ha-ha as that episode was, I feel that broke the show so much for anyone who took... It's the one where it turns out, like, everything that they've done has apparently been based on the luck of Chuck's writing.
I think you want to talk about how, like, you have been, like, hater mode on the show. If I'd been making videos during season 15, that would have been like and I was making some videos, but not about Supernatural. That would have been the ending of any respect I have for the show. That was like, because I'd stuck out so much and defended the show and liked a lot of elements of those seasons. That episode completely like ruined any like semblance of seriousness I had to take the show with. It did gone. I was like, and it's funny because they immediately undo it the next episode and explain that it wasn't plot armor. It was Chuck made them unlucky. They fixed it. And it's like, good on whoever that writer is.
Yeah.
Because that about like just torched the entire 15 seasons of that show.
Almost,
that single
right?
episode about completely unraveled the entire show.
Like, I'll give credit. The car joke is definitely funny. Because
it's a funny episode.
Yeah, because that car has about 1 million miles on it by this point. Like, that thing should be dead. And then same for like their teeth. But like when they couldn't lockpick, when they couldn't fight anymore, I'm like, all right.
That's when
I was just like, come on, guys. But it's funny enough we've turned on to the dab era. With everything said, where's my question here? Here it is. I'm starting to, like I said, I've been seeing the cracks in the Carver era. I still have some hope for season 10, but I am also going in with like And once I finish 10, I'm going to rewatch 11 for the first time in like 15 years. And I'm hoping it's as good as I remember it. But with that in mind, do you think the Carver era is better or worse than the Dab era?
Oh, probably 11 does a lot of heavy lifting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like 11 more than anything Andrew Dabb put out.
Yeah.
I would say I probably like it less. I think worse is hard because I don't care for 12. I don't hate it. I just don't care for it, and I don't like 15 at all for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I think 15 is one of the worst seasons of the entire show. I think it drags down the ending a lot. I like 13 and 14 though. I think those are my two weird kind of like hear me out seasons where I will like.
It's funny. I hated 14 so much, but I think 13 wasn't bad for the most part, but it just had some. I do like the one bit about those seasons that I still take a note from what Jade said is that Lucifer became the herpes of Supernatural. You just couldn't get rid of it. And I do remember when, when Lucifer wasn't Lucifer, but Mark Pellerino was the human version of him, and he was trying to get the Lucifer. I was like, just drop it, please. Please just drop this aspect for the love of God.
That always blew my mind because I was like, oh, so Mark Pellegrino really need a job that bad that they got him on the show as you know, good actor. I like Mark Pellegrino's work on the show, but it was like I think having him as Nick was like, and again, I'm a little bit on my like not super defend Supernatural angle, but kind of in like I like to find the intention of stuff, and I like to kind of look at the best way you can take it. And I think there's some interesting stuff with Nick of like developing what it's like for somebody who has gone that long being possessed by an archangel, kind of like the psychological effects that it has on somebody. I think there's a ton of cool elements that they could have done. And I think they almost get there. I just don't think that they commit to it enough.
No, and then they do that retcon too, where they say that Lucifer like
Abraxas.
Yeah, Lucifer had it planned to have his kids killed. Oh. No. The whole point was that he could just find someone on a bad day. That was what made that episode so good, and that's kind of why I like. It's funny that we talk about retcons and stuff from I crucified Dab for the amount of retconning he did, but at the same time, Carver has done some bullshit retconning, particularly in season 8 when apparently Reapers were also coyotes, and also though there's been this backdoor to purgatory this whole time, and it was just like, wait a minute, wasn't Crowley trying to find this door throughout all of season 6, but apparently he just had to ask a couple of Reapers. And then in season 9, when apparently Reapers are also angels, and Tess, the Reaper, who had every episode she was in, was gold, and then comes Stairway to Heaven.
Episodes like that with when shows do that, it always makes me sad because like I said, I'm watching season 2 right now, so I'm like episode 7, so I watched like In My Time of Dying just the other day, and it's so hard to watch that episode now because I'm like, oh hey, she's technically an angel that's like a Metatron drone, and she's gonna suicide bomb herself, and it takes me out. It takes me out of the entire experience.
Yeah, that's why some people say when you talk about like seasons 5 through 15, some people have said that it's all been just inside Sam's head, and sometimes I'm almost willing to accept that.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that wanted like the ending of Supernatural to end with like the fact that like Sam's being tortured in the cage, and I don't think that would be a satisfying ending whatsoever for the show, but it would be it'd be like a last minute like fix for any sort of retcon or anything.
Well, absolutely.
Okay, well,
yeah,
it was all a dream.
Well, did you see Kripke did an interview recently, like a couple of days ago, and he was talking about one of his original ideas for Swan Song's ending was going to be basically the same thing, but instead of Sam appearing via the light, which I don't think that was his idea. I believe that was Sarah Gamble and everyone, because they're like, oh, we got to keep the show going. His original idea was going to be Dean and Lisa have a kid, and they were going to put her in a cradle, and then a dark figure, like when they closed the door, a dark figure was going to appear above the cradle, and it was basically going to be like a restarting of the entire process all over again. And that was how he was that was one of his original ideas, and he's always like, I'm happy you guys, they didn't take that idea seriously. But I've always been like,
for a show like Supernatural, where it's very there's a lot of concepts of like trauma and breaking cycles of that trauma, especially in those first 5 seasons. So in some ways that potential ending feels like a little bit of a slap on the wrist, almost.
Yeah.
Of like, no, the show earned its ending. But on the other hand, I don't know. It's an interesting idea. I think
it is an interesting idea. I'm not, I thought about it too. I'm like, oh, but yeah, I would have been pissed. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it'd be like, no, Dean earned his happy ending. They don't need it. But then on the other hand, I'm like, oh, it makes sense, I guess, that demons would try and raise Lucifer again.
Yeah, right.
I think the issue with Supernatural always, and kind of talking about the Carver era with the way the show continues after that, is I think the biggest issue with Supernatural is that when Eric Kripke left the show, he did not leave the show in a continuable format.
No.
He left the show with every single character involved in this show with a fully completed character arc.
Absolutely. That's like Castiel is a huge example of that.
Every single character is 100% teed off and written, and at the complete end of their entire road. There is nothing new you can do with any of these characters.
Mm-hmm. I will give Gamble credit. She did do a pretty decent arc for Cass, having to do the evil for the supposed good. Like,
I think
the man
Evil
who would be
Castiel
king.
is I think Evil Castiel is like probably the best thing she does with the character. I also like I like Sam's hallucinations a good bit. I think those are well done. Not in concept or execution, but I think the idea of...
Oh, yeah.
I like that 2 seasons afterwards, Sam is still, like, messed up over being Lucifer's vessel. Like, that kind of, like, long-standing stakes and fallout of a season. You don't get that in the later seasons. Everything kind of, like, is... Season 8 ends, and aside from the angels falling in the finale, nothing else from Season 8 really carries over. I like the fact that, like, hey, something that happened in the finale 2 seasons ago is affecting Sam in Season 7, Episode 17. Like,
absolutely.
That cool of, like respecting continuity and keeping characters growing is cool.
And, like, you've mentioned this kind of in your reviews as well. It's just, like, it seems like the show, for the most part, became the Dean show, especially after Season 8. And Sam is the central character of seasons 1 through 5. Like, sure, Dean is more the main in 3, but that's because he's going to die. But they had an equal sharing. And in seasons 6 and 7, it was kind of like still had this equality, Jesus. But then, and then in 8, it's like it's heavy Sam, but still Dean. And then 9 is all Dean. Sam is just like the backseat passenger.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like it was almost nerve-wracking just how much Sam did not matter. Like I think one of the best episodes that he had was, in terms of him, was the episode where Dean and Crowley go off to find the First Blade, and Sam and Cass are trying to get like the essence out of him. Like, this is like trying to give Sam some drama and whatnot of his own, but I feel like he was more important when he was possessed by Gadriel than he ever was as Sam.
I have a couple notes on Sam as a character, which one of the big things I'm planning this year is I want to have some videos about the main characters. I think would be cool. So a lot of this could be, if you're watching this and you watch my channel, you're gonna get a lot of spoilers from my Sam video with this. I hate what they did with this character so much in the later seasons, to the fact he just becomes so reactive to everything going on. And Sam is not a passive character in the slightest, especially in the first 5 seasons. He's very much like an active participant. He doesn't just kind of sit around and like watch things happen. But that's sort of what he does in especially the late Carver era. I think for me, the last good, honest to good Sam Winchester episode in the entire show, where I'm not like having any issues with it, is probably season 11, episode 2, where he is on his own in that hospital with all of the darkness zombies like crawling around him, and he on his own figures out how to cure them and like saves like that, like the hospital, and saves a lot of people. That's the last time that I think that character had
really
an actual like major like storyline.
What was the episode where he almost died? Like, it was when Billy's like, I'm not gonna bring you guys back anymore. What that is? He's in the forest and he's like, he's been wounded, and he's
that's
which season was that one?
That was 11. That's the I refer to that as the Sam and Dean Romeo and Juliet episode, I think, where like Dean thinks Sam's dead, so he goes and kills himself to bring Sam back from the dead, and then it turns out Sam's actually alive, and then they talk. There's another one where they do that in season 12 after they get out of the
the prison
solitary confinement for killing the president.
I remember being like, was so dumb.
Which, by the way, if you want to talk about like my interest in the dab era, I can sum up the dab era by just talking about like Sam and Dean go into solitary confinement for the attempt to murder the president who's possessed by the devil. Like, the fact that those words left my mouth is absurd. But that's what I kind of like about a lot of that era, is a lot of it is there's the show for a show that I feel like was in such a creative and boring rut for the dab seasons. I think it was
it went right off the rails with intent.
Yeah, and it's like, you can have issues with that 100%. I get it. But you have to stop taking the show seriously around season 12, and I did. And as not to talk about too much about another show, but like The Flash does a very similar thing where the later seasons of that show, you just have to like, it's a comic book show, right? It's going to be crazy and it's going to do stuff. And that's how I viewed Supernatural in its later years. And that's not to say I don't like some of the character stuff or I'm uncritical of the show, but at a certain point I was just happy that I was like entertained, which is not something that happened a lot during like season 9, where I felt like I was constantly just man,
this has definitely become like, I went into this whole retrospective thing with such glee, and I loved going through seasons 1 through 5, of course. Season 6 was interesting because it gave me a little bit more of a retrospect. Like, I feel like as sloppy as 6 is certain points, I feel like it's better than people give it credit for.
I agree.
7 was definitely like, wow, this is a mess, but like there's some decent in it. 8 was like, okay, this isn't as good as I thought it was. Still okay, but all right, maybe that whole Carver era is great, is a little bit and then season 9 was the first time throughout all of this I thought season 7 was a slog. Season 9 was the most I have felt doing any episode reviews. I was quite literally doing the review the morning of Thursday, like for the I think for a good portion of these reviews I was doing them on the Thursday they were due. I just felt so unmotivated to talk about season 9.
I feel you there. I have 2 things to say. One, I actually used to dislike 10 more, which is kind of crazy. Because now I think 10, while it definitely has issues, and I'm excited to see your reviews for 10, I think 9 is just way more boring. The second thing is, my friend who watched it with me. Bless his heart. He watched the show Arrow with me too, and Arrow has one of the worst seasons of television I have ever seen. Smack in the middle of it with its fourth season. And I kept telling him, I'm like, season 5 is really good. You gotta get to season 5. And so he bared with me and got to season 5 and he liked it. So we're watching Supernatural after that, and I'm like, I know season 9 kind of rough, man, but you gotta bear with me. You gotta get through 10 to get to 11. And he sat down with me one night. He's like, I don't know if I can do this. He's like, I don't know if I can keep watching like Supernatural season, because he didn't even like 8. He's like, he was in the camp of the show has been consistently mediocre since the end of season 5, and that which it was a cool perspective because I'd always heard 8 really well liked, and I
can agree with your friend in certain points. Like 8 was not like the golden pedestal I thought it was going to be.
It's overrated and easily for me. I think there's a lot of cool stuff about 8, but I used to put 8 as like above some of the Kripke seasons, but now for me 8 is like maybe on a good day edging out like season 1. But even after rewatching season 1 over the past week, season 1's pretty good.
Season 1 is pretty good.
I'd probably like season 1 over top of season 8.
Speaking of 8, while we were talking about it, I always believe that Sacrifice, like I said, I went into season 8 with believing that Sacrifice is a perfect episode. And for the most part, it is. It has one of the most iconic moments at the very end with all the angels falling. That's one of the most iconic moments in Supernatural history. It has a very great... It's probably the last time that Sam really mattered as well, with him coming to the end of his trials and wanting to die. But the very, very, very big blemish about that episode to me is Dean's incredible selfishness. And it's not even like a well-written selfishness. It's just like, oh, you need to keep the show going. In terms of like, I know you really love this episode, obviously. And I like I said, I like it too, aside from that blemish. But how do you feel about that criticism? Do you feel it's validated? Like after compared to how you watched Sacrifice when you first saw it, compared to seeing it now again years later, how does that episode stand to you for season 8?
When I first watched Sacrifice, I loved it. I remember going on at the time. I was writing website reviews for my website I had with a couple friends that doesn't exist anymore, which I'm happy because they were probably really bad.
Oh yeah, we all have those ones.
But I remember talking about it, and I said some crazy stuff. In fact, on my old Reddit account, which I think got banned from me overly posting my Supernatural content in the Supernatural subreddit, like, come watch my videos, please. But that was years ago as well, back during when season 13 was airing. I remember I watched season 8 and I watched the Sacrifice, and I was like, this is better than Swan Song. I'm like, this is the greatest episode the show's ever put out. And
wow,
it's still really good, but that is a load of horseshit to say that. I think Dean's selfishness is the biggest issue. Also the fact that and they execute it well, but they really do just drop this entire plot point. There's not it's not resolved. They're like, yeah, we're not doing it no more. We're not closing the gates of hell anymore. We're moving on.
Yeah, and that's what I thought was so weird about it. It's like, all the stuff we've learned, and what?
What'd you learn? What did you learn? Good episode. I still love the scene with them in the barn, or not the barn, the church. They're in the church.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the acting. Jared Padalecki becomes a woeful actor later in the show, but he is great in that episode. He's he tries to give every single facial expression a human can make in a single line.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's such a good moment between the two in that finale. But that starts the I said I don't like Sam in the end of the Carver era, but I could still watch Sam Winchester, right? I just think he's toothless compared to how he was originally. I cannot stand Dean Winchester after season 8 of the show for a long time. I don't think it's until Oh man, it might be season 13 before they fully fix that character for me.
Wow.
He's like a he's so selfish to a point of like almost parody. The fact he doesn't understand what he's doing is wrong. The entire thing he does with like forcing Sam to stay alive and having him possessed by an angel against his, without his knowledge, and the fact he's like, he doesn't think he did anything wrong. That's like the core part of the drama in season 9 is Sam is rightfully pissed off that his body was hijacked, and Dean's like, well,
it's the Timu version of the revival of Sam from season 2.
Yeah.
I get that's a good point, because and I like sure, Dean has some funny moments, but there's been these it does feel like it's like rolling for the sake of rolling, and rather than like in a continuous like when Sam tells him like, you want us to work together, sure, but we're not brothers. And I don't feel like that was really solved throughout season 9. Like the only way that it is sort of is because Dean dies.
I think another big issue I have with Dean, aside from them not resolving that, which I didn't even think about until now, they kind of just move on, is in Swan Song, Dean literally has a moment where he tells Sam, he's like, you're a grown man, I can't control you. Yeah. And that's the entire point of that episode.
Yeah, that's the conclusion of their story, is that Dean did all these things to protect his brother, but no, he has to let him go. He has to let Sam decide for himself.
And it would be cool. It's cool. Character regression could be such a cool tool when done properly.
Yes.
This is not done properly.
No.
This is not proper character regression. This is, we ran out of ideas and we're recycling plot lines. This is not, oh, cool, Dean kind of relapsed on his toxic behavior with his brother. No, it's not that. Which is why I gave it the benefit of the doubt in Sacrifice. Because I felt like maybe they were doing that. Maybe he's like not ready to let it go. And but no, it's, I think the... Oh yeah, I think Dean's character writing tumbles starting with that episode, and they don't fix it for a while.
Wow, it's giving me such great vibes for season 10.
Season 10 has I don't know if season 10 has any redeeming qualities. Really.
I will say the only two things I remember about season 10 is that three things. The Demon Dean arc is resolved in absolutely absurdly quick time. Like, if I'm correct, it's only 3 episodes, which give that's where Dad got that idea with, like, that is like, oh, these big problems would be solved in 3 fucking episodes. So Carver is one of the ones who started that.
That is, that's you brought that. That's something the show does, starting with season 8, kind of. Going until the end of it, where, like you said, there's this 3 episode kind of thing where it's like you have this major cliffhanger, and then you open up the premiere and like, oh, everything's different, and then 2 episodes later
it's resolved.
Fighting a ghost in a warehouse, and you're like, oh, okay, we're back to normal.
The second thing I can remember is that guy who has a vendetta against Dean. If I remember, I remember just being like, "What is this dude doing here? He's such a loser. He keeps on losing." I know that Dean did something, either killed a Demon Dean, either killed a family member or something. I don't even remember how they resolve that storyline. I just remember that he's there, and then obviously the ending where the darkness is introduced in the last 2 minutes. That is the only thing. Those are the only things I remember about season 10. I am going in nearly blind.
That's exciting.
It is somewhat.
Because it'll be cool to see what you think about that season. Because that is still probably my second least favorite season of the show.
Oh no!
But it's a fair bit better, I think, than 9. Mainly because I think the last stretch of, I talk about like a supernatural kind of like renaissance or revival. The last stretch of 10 is part of that for me. I think the last like 6 episodes of season 10, there's a little bit of a fire lit under the ass of everyone involved, and like some oomph comes back to the show, but it's pretty bland up until then. That's just the worst part about 9. It's just so boring.
That's true. Oh wait, season 10 also has the 200th episode, right? Fan fiction.
Yes.
Okay, that I somewhat remember that one, and I do remember that one gave. Who are those two ladies who did those like parody songs, and they even got Jensen and Jared to be in one of them.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember their names. They've done like 2 of them though.
Yeah, but then like I feel like once the show ended, their relevancy sort of died as well.
Yeah.
Who were they? It's actually boggling my mind right now.
I know they did one around like season 10 with the Mark of Cain, and then I think they did another one.
The Hillywood Show.
Yes.
Holy shit! I know 10 years ago and 6 years ago. The Nerdist. Wow. do they still do videos? Oh, they're still doing videos. Oh wow, they did a pair. Oh, they went to the Doctor Who US premiere. Wait, they were on Warm Bodies parody. No, they're still around, sort of.
That's good to know. You know, at least their
viewership
can't
is
imagine.
through the floor.
Oh wow, this is sad. I'm looking at it now. Yeah. Oh man. This is tragic.
Like, you lose it after a while, right? Like, of course. Like, I think, they're the biggest step. Like, I don't think they've had anything. Oh, wow. Actually, their supernatural stuff isn't even the stuff that they're most well known for. It's the Twilight parodies. and then the Suicide Squad parody too.
That's wild.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'd only known about these guys from the Supernatural video. I figured that would be the biggest one.
All right. Well, I feel like
that's
maybe
crazy.
let's.
That was a big video even when I first started watching.
Yeah,
the show,
right.
I
was like, wow, that's cool of them to come out and be on this and everything. And I definitely feel like fan fiction is like what birthed that concept.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be surprised if they're in it. I'll have to see.
It's a fun episode.
I feel to end our conversation, which I've really enjoyed. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Yeah. It's more of a throwaway thought, but if season 11 was going to have been the actual final season, we were talking about it earlier. If Carver had got to end it the way he wanted to, do you have an idea of how he would have ended it in terms of maybe like? I have to imagine that the whole bringing the mom back thing was not even on the fucking table.
Yeah, I think Dean probably would have died. I think the darkness would have died with him. I don't think the whole cosmic balance thing, as neat as an idea as it is, the two of them need to exist to preserve reality. I think it's a cool idea. I don't think that was a thing at the time. I think it was probably just, we could kill the darkness, and I think, they probably would have had Dean die to do it, and I think it would have worked with what that season was setting up, and it would have been a little hokey, because I still think the reason Swan Song works is because it's an inversion of where the characters were at the start of the show.
Yeah,
and I think you lose a little bit of that. But I think that it would have been probably solid enough had they gone through with it and done it. They might have done something completely different though, right? Dean might not have died. They might have gone in a different direction. I just feel like the writing was on the wall with the Mark of Cain stuff, and they had that connection that never really pays off in the season 11 that we get.
Yeah.
So I feel like that probably would have been the payoff. I think 11 still would have been a great final season, regardless of how it ended. I think even with the ending it has now, if you remove like their mom coming back and maybe reshoot some stuff, I think you could still have a really good finale of the show.
Yeah.
I think it would have been. I think it would have been solid. I think that's probably the direction he was going in.
Yeah.
And
I feel the same.
would have been fine.
Oh, well, man, like, thank you again for this conversation. I have very much enjoyed this. Like I said, I've wanted to do this conversation with you ever since your video. And then when I started season 8, I was like sending you messages like, "Oh no, I see what you mean."
Sorry it's taken so long. It's been really busy.
No worries, man. I understand totally, and like I said, I've just appreciated you doing so. I guess I didn't ask you this when we were doing our initial notes. I was just kind of curious, like if you had any question for me in terms of like supernatural thing. Didn't want to close that door yet in case you had anything.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing is being able to kind of have a discussion with somebody else doing supernatural content right now in the space, because there's not too much of it going on.
Nah.
To the point where the show is, I've gotten so many comments on some of my recent videos saying like the show is at like almost peak like dead show popularity, where people are watching it and still discovering it all the time, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And cool. But it's like there's not much going on in the supernatural space on YouTube. It's like very few people making content. So it's really cool to be able to network and reach out and have a discussion like this.
No, I appreciate that.
And again, it's really cool for me because I was watching your videos for so long before I made that initial like Dark Age video where
you saw the fading hairline then. It's like, man, this man's holding on. Like, this guy's holding on to that hairline as much as Supernatural is holding on to its existence.
I did not notice that, but I did. I can't think about it now.
Well, that's why I'm wearing a hat right now.
I thought they were. I just thought you had really good thoughts on the show, and it was always a thing. I was like, I'd watch an episode and I'd be like, oh, cool, that was a cool episode. And I was like, well, now I gotta wait to see what Jeremy thought. It was like, okay, and it was a cool kind of way to ground myself, because I liked some of those episodes, a good bit of them, but the Supernatural fan base on like the subreddit and Twitter and everywhere you can discuss the show is so rabidly positive about the show.
Yeah,
no matter what,
to like a toxic degree.
Yeah, and so having someone like you really helped kind of like give like a second perspective of what people are talking about, because that's one reason I like online forums and discourse, is being able to like see other people's perspectives that could influence mine and give me another idea of like
absolutely.
What's going on.
And that's how I view like when I get negative comments on YouTube, like people are just like okay, I mean, do you actually have a criticism? Because like I've tried to turn myself around from how I did the original season, like the seasons 12 to 15 reviews. Whenever there's like, give me a good point, give me a good reason as to why. Like particularly like I think what I did, I think it was my What's Gonna Happen in Supernatural season 15 or 13 is one of my most viewed videos. And I remember I lit a fucking like a powder keg when I did that one, because I just basically shat on all of the decisions that the show had done. And I remember having some pretty somewhat heated conversations in the comments, but I was just trying to be like, no, like, okay, like, give me your actual reasons why you think the show should keep going, other than, oh, it just needs to keep going forever. Like that's a fairy tale. That's living in a childhood fantasy. Like I agree. We like, the longer the show goes, the more chance it has of ending poorly. So yeah, like I said, when you say, like, when we're able to have discussions like this, I really appreciate it, because this is what I miss. I feel like this is something that has not only kind of become less common, not only with TV show conversations, especially movies conversations. Like, I always go back to The Last Jedi, and I say that was when film conversation kind of just went completely like, there was such a massive divide. And the funny thing is that people who are in the middle, who are not like, hey, it's not great, but it's not the worst thing ever, those people would be then pushed to the either side, whichever they were more pushed onto. and or vice versa sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
like you can put that to politics as well. It's just to have a calm conversation even when you disagree with the other person is such a rarity nowadays that it is very, very much appreciated, and that's what I've very much enjoyed about this conversation with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like I want to have discussions about things I love and care about, like Supernatural. And it can be so hard when like you said, like with The Last Jedi, like you either think it's the greatest thing ever, or you hate it with a passion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like I always want to bring as much of a unique take as I can to kind of like highlight things. I'm not going to sit here and talk about something that like I'm going to share the opinion with the vast majority of people, mainly cuz I feel like that's like, what difference does it make if, if I get on YouTube and talk about how good Better Call Saul is? Like, yeah, it's a great show, but I don't add anything to a discussion, which is what I think
Mm-hmm.
was cool about my Supernatural videos. Was I felt like I was adding to a discussion. Especially when paired alongside yours, I feel like you get like some interesting viewpoints.
Absolutely. I mean,
Um,
I'm really looking forward to your 20th anniversary video.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, man. Thank you so
Hmm.
much, guys. And thank you all for watching our discussion here. I'll either be putting this all into one, or maybe I might break it up because we've
Okay.
been talking for an hour and a half now, which is
Yeah.
nuts. But no, this has been a really good discussion, Jay. Thank you so much for your time. Very
Hmm.
much appreciated like our retrospective looks, your insights into this show, and then like the counters as well, and just having, like I said, I haven't had a conversation like this with someone else about Supernatural in so long that it felt nice to have it. Like, and I said Jade was one of the last people I had a really big long conversation with. But
Hmm.
like even some friends I know who did watch the show, not a lot of them talk about it anymore. Like some of them
Yeah.
think I'm nuts that I'm still talking about it.
Yeah. My friend that watched it with me, he's very supportive of like the content I make, and he's been loving the videos I put out. But it's like I don't talk to him outside of making the content. He's just kind of like,
Uh,
I don't talk to him about the show. Rather, like sometimes I'll mention it, and he's just like, yeah, makes sense. For me,
cool.
talking about Supernatural is me looking at a script on a on a monitor, talking to my microphone. So it's cool to talk to an actual person,
Yeah, right.
and,
Exactly.
and get responses back.
And
And
you've
my
done
comment
very well.
section's
Like
been
I said,
cool.
your videos are like really well put together. You have really great
I
insights into
appreciate
them.
that.
And even like I said, like even with, hang on, I actually want to quote myself because I do not want to. I gotta find what I said. I want to be correct with what I said about your one video about Wendigo, because I felt that even though I love that episode, your criticism of it was very well done. Hang on, what was it that I said? And okay, oh, hang on one second. Uh, so I've got to say, you make really good arguments here. The force bit, especially, they could have ripped off elements of that from Predator, but I also think I can say that the special effects market might have had their hands tied with budget concerns. There's also one of the first episodes shot in BC, where it would stay,
Mm.
except for Bloodlines, but it's Bloodlines, so who cares? I also like how you finished by acknowledging its positives. Slipped on the first attempt, but made up for it with Dead Water, like you said. So yeah, like I enjoy your intakes into these things, and like I said, I'm very excited to see what you do next.
Yeah, I'm excited for your season 10 reviews. I watched all the season 9 reviews. Thought
I
they
appreciate
were
that,
really
man.
well done.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I like how you I especially like your like best and worst episodes. I think that's such a really cool way to go and talk about the show after you finish a season review. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, no, like that drag. Like, admittedly, making the worst episode for 9 was easier than doing the best. Especially when I looked at best, and
Yeah.
I'm like, hang on, most of the good ones, if not all of the good ones, are not story related,
Mm-mm.
except for
Mm-mm.
First Blade.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
the only that's got to be the only good story episode for me
yeah, I
as
agree.
well. I
Well, I guess we'll see
No,
what
this
comes
is
in
fun.
season 10.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm
Uh,
really looking forward to that.
oh, Well, thank you again for your time, Jay. I really appreciate that. But yeah, we're gonna, yeah. For those of you guys who are excited to season 10, I'll be doing that. Like, I'm hoping to start doing those reviews come September, October, and then Jay's video. Do you have an idea of when your 20th anniversary is coming, or
It should come out on the anniversary.
on
So, yeah,
September?
September
Okay, yeah, there we
September
go.
13th, yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it should be. It's gonna be a lot of work, and it's gonna be fairly long. But I think it'll be really cool.
I bet. Well, we have that to look forward to. I look forward to that more than I do to going through season 10. All right. Well, thank you, sir. And thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like. Subscribe to both myself and Jay. I'm going to put Jay in the description below. And if I can have that little thingy bob up in the corner here, I'll have that too for his channel. But yeah, this has been a great discussion, Jay. Thank you again so much, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. All right. See you guys later.
Bye.